Laid to rest, a final farewell to a highly decorated officer.
Bitter sweets, what you need to know about the dangers of sugary drinks.
Riding high, how horse therapy helps special needs kids.
It's Friday, May 8th, 2015. Live from Columbia University in New York City, this is Columbia News Tonight.
Good evening, and welcome to Columbia News Tonight. I'm Samantha Miles.
And I'm Rebecca Lee. We begin with the violent death of one of New York's finest. Thousands upon thousands came to Long Island today to say goodbye to Officer Brian Moore. He died on Monday after being shot on Saturday. Cops from across America flew in to honor their fallen comrade. Andrew Johnson has a story from Seaford.
The weather was sunny, but the mood was not. Sounds of mourning filled the air as friends, family, and fellow officers came from coast to coast to pay tribute to 25-year-old Brian Moore. Why did you come from California to be here today?
To support the PD, support the Moore family. We're all brothers and sisters out here. One of us falls. That's a blow to all of us nationwide, you know.
Brian Moore was a native of Massapequa, Long Island. He was with the New York City Police Department for 5 years. He followed the blue bloodline of his father, uncle, and cousin. Moore made 150 arrests and was honored with 4 police service medals during his brief career.
We put our life on the line, and it's a dangerous job, and it's sad he paid the ultimate sacrifice to serve his community.
Demetrius Blackwell is accused of firing 3 bullets into Moore's head using an illegal handgun. At the funeral mass, Officer Moore was eulogized by Mayor Bill de Blasio.
We all are heartbroken, as are the people of our city. Brian Moore represented the best of New York City. He was brave, for sure, but his bravery was matched by his compassion.
Brian was the man in the arena for all of us. And so with great honor and great sadness, I posthumously promote Police Officer Brian Moore, Shield 469, to Detective First Grade in the New York City Police Department.
Moore leaves behind his mom, dad, sister, and a heartbroken community. Andrew Johnson, Columbia News Tonight.
As Officer Moore was laid to rest today, authorities are still looking into how he died. One connection: earlier this week, 10 New York gang members were arrested for being part of a gun trafficking ring. Shannon Louisbrand reports.
Those 10 gang members are believed to have trafficked more than 90 guns in just 6 months. Police say one of those guns was used to kill Officer Moore. The gun used to kill the 25-year-old NYPD officer has been traced to a pawn shop in Perry, Georgia. 23 guns were reported stolen from the store back in 2011. At least 9 of those guns have been recovered at New York City crime scenes. That includes this .38 caliber revolver used to kill Officer Moore last Saturday while he was on patrol in Queens Village.
Crime is up slightly this year. The number of shooting incidents is up slightly over last year. We intend to ensure that that is not a pattern that continues, and taking these 93 guns off the street is an important step in that direction.
The alleged trafficking ringleader, William Solar of the Bronx, is accused of selling the gun to Officer Moore's killer, convicted felon Demetrius Blackwell.
They buy guns in some of these southern states and then sell them to criminals in New York who might have more difficulty buying a gun here. Well, that route from south to the northeast, with the guns traveling along it, is called the Iron Pipeline.
Leah Gunn Barrett, the executive director of New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, says the guns are also being trafficked from upstate New York.
The recent bust that the Attorney General's office led, there were guns coming from Portchester, parts of Westchester, on the Metro North line into the city.
According to Barrett, more than 85% of all guns used in crimes in New York are trafficked from states with less strict gun laws.
Well, unless you stopped every Chinatown bus and every mega bus and every Amtrak train and Metro North train and inspected people's luggage, you're not going to completely stop it, or open people's car trunks. And that's just not going to be feasible. We don't live in that kind of a police state.
Anti-gun advocates say the only way to really cut down on gun trafficking is to go after manufacturers, something Congress has refused to do. Blackwell, who spent 5 years in prison for attempted murder, has been charged with first-degree murder for the death of Officer Moore.
Thanks, Shannon.
The Justice Department will investigate the Baltimore Police Department. Attorney General Loretta Lynch made that announcement earlier today. The federal civil rights probe will explore events leading up to the death of Freddie Gray. His death last month set off citywide peaceful protests and violent riots that shut down much of the city. 18 days of deliberations ended today with a hung jury in the Aton Pates case. 6-year-old Pates disappeared in 1979 while walking home from school in his Soho neighborhood. Former bodega worker Pedro Hernandez confessed numerous times on tape to killing Pates, but his insanity defense has left the jury in gridlock. The 18 days of deliberation is a record for New York City. Appearing with his lawyer, Aton's father, Stan Pates, said that the family unanimously feels that Hernandez is guilty. The retrial is scheduled for June 10th.
The results are in for elections in the UK. Opinion polls during the month-long campaign predicted a close race, but when the votes were counted, Conservatives won by a landslide.
Liberal Democrat leader Nick Clegg resigned after suffering the party's worst ever defeat, dropping from 57 seats down to just 8. And Labour lost almost all of their seats to the Scottish National Party. British Prime Minister David Cameron's Conservative Party won 326 seats needed for the majority, enough to govern on their own for the first time since 1992. Cameron now has a mandate to implement the party's full agenda that includes scaling back on government spending and entitlements and cutting taxes. Cameron is the first Conservative Prime Minister to win re-election since Margaret Thatcher, who won an unprecedented third term in 1987.
British political experts say these dramatic changes will reshape the future of the United Kingdom.
Across the country, U.S. military bases are raising terrorism alert levels. The order is not in response to a specific threat, but defense officials say concern for national safety grew when 100 military personnel had unspecified personal information leaked online recently.
Coming up on Columbia News tonight, a doctor who was cured of Ebola finds out that his battle with the disease is not over. And if you're sniffling more than usual this year, you're not alone. Find out why your allergies may be worse this time of the year. In Pakistan, 7 people, including the Filipino and Norwegian ambassadors, were killed when a helicopter crashed into a school in the northern part of the country. It's not clear whether it was an accident or an attack. Pakistan's military believes it was a mechanical problem, but the Pakistani Taliban says it shot the chopper down. A doctor just discovered he has Ebola in his eye. American doctor Ian Crozier almost lost his vision 1 month after he was declared Ebola-free. He first contracted the virus in September 2014, treating patients in Sierra Leone. A new report by Crozier highlights the complications of the disease that is still haunting West Africa.
Sneezing season is here again, and many New Yorkers are battling with allergies. Some experts call it a pollen tsunami. Kingsley O'Mile has the story.
If you have a runny nose, watery eyes, and an overpowering urge to sneeze, then you might be one of millions of Americans suffering from seasonal allergies.
My allergies are pretty inconsistent. I'm not sure why, but I will wake up sometimes really stuffed up and they'll bother me, and then sometimes I'm fine, so it makes it kind of hard to manage.
Allergist Dr. Clifford Bassett says he's seen a 20 to 30% increase in patient visits in the past few weeks.
Allergy season started late because of the late winter weather in many areas, and as a result of that, we're seeing a variety of early spring pollens and mid-spring pollens coming together, and now with grass approaching, that's my triple whammy.
According to CDC, more than 50 million Americans suffer from allergies every year. And just a quick walk through the park might put you at risk because of exposure to pollen from trees. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Today's pollen forecast stands at a high of 10.7 and just a slight drop in pollen levels tomorrow. But Sunday will see one of the highest pollen levels yet this year, with a high of 11.1. Despite the forecast, people are still out enjoying the spring.
Sometimes you have to enjoy the nature and you want to see it, right? Even if it affects your health.
Dr. Bassett says it is possible to enjoy the outdoors and be comfortable.
Starts off with wearing a hat in the pollen season to protect yourself from pollen, sunglasses like a movie star to prevent pollen from entering your eyelid. The bottom line is plan ahead.
Taking these precautionary steps will help you stay allergy-free while you enjoy the spring. Kingsley Amayo, Columbia News Tonight.
For New Yorkers, the need for healthy transplant organs is dire. In fact, the Empire State is now dead last in state-by-state rankings for eligible donors. In this week's Focus Report, Liza Lucas tells us the story of one young woman's agonizing wait.
Joe Sanalitro will never forget the day his healthy teenage daughter was diagnosed with life-threatening kidney disease.
There's no way you can be prepared. I mean, one day, you have a healthy child, and the next thing you know. So there's no way to prepare. You just gotta, find the strength and pull it together, especially for your daughter.
Now Madison is 19 and living with her parents, requiring 24-hour assistance. Far from the days of cheerleading with friends.
I have to take my pills and stuff like that. I have to be on a special diet. And I really can't cheer anymore.
She went on emergency dialysis this week, and now she waits for a new kidney. According to Live on New York, there are more than 10,000 people waiting for organ transplants in the state.
We look at the rest of the country in terms of state registries. New York is 50 out of 50. We are last. And again, it's not because New Yorkers don't support donation, it's because New Yorkers are not registering.
Experts say there aren't enough opportunities to sign up for the registry. The DMV only asks people when they renew their license every 8 years. Most importantly,
the key here is that every person needs to talk about their own end-of-life decisions and share it with their families.
In the meantime, Madison's aunt has been sharing her story on Facebook. The search for a living donor has gotten 50,000 shares, as Madison's parents and extended family are not suitable donors. As they wait, Madison's parents hope for a good Samaritan.
Most people think, I don't want to be a donor, but, when it really hits your family, you're like, I should be a donor.
Liza Lucas, Columbia News Tonight.
In Oklahoma, one woman is dead after record-setting wind and rain ripped through the Midwest earlier this week. She reportedly drowned in a tornado shelter in Oklahoma City. The National Weather Service says the city set an all-time record for 24-hour rainfall. 50 tornadoes were reported last night from Texas to Nebraska. Coming up, a look at what goes into making one outrageous delicacy, and a new way to warn you about the amount of sugar that's really in your favorite soft drink. Catholic churches across the area will soon be part of the largest reorganization in the history of the New York Archdiocese. The announcement comes as the church faces dwindling funds and congregations. 112 parishes will merge, creating 55 new parishes. The changes are expected to affect close to 3 million Catholic New Yorkers. It was only a few years ago that former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg led an unsuccessful campaign to ban the sale of large sodas. That effort failed, but as Michaela Vielo reports in tonight's Consumer Watch, the worries remain over the health consequences of those drinks.
Sugary drinks may taste good, but if you drink too many of them, they can literally kill you.
There are significant consequences to drinking soda.
Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz wants soft drink companies to add warning labels to their drinks. They would read, "Safety warning. Drinking beverages with added sugar contributes to obesity, diabetes, and tooth decay."
We're not telling people they can't drink soda or they can't drink, Snapple or drinks like that. We're just informing people of the very significant health consequences.
But are people informed? How many of these cubes of sugar do you think are in a bottle of Coke?
That's a good question.
I was going to say 16.
Maybe like 10?
Say about 7 or 8.
There's 22.
Wow.
Oh
my God. Wow.
22. Wow. Even worse than I thought.
Sodas like this are often given a really bad rep for the amount of sugar that they have. However, drinks like this with lots of fruit on the label are also very high in sugar content.
Sugar is a major contributor to weight gain. Studies show 2 out of every 3 adults and 1 out of every 3 children in the United States are obese or overweight.
At the same time, there's increased diabetes risk, increased obesity risk, and potentially other diseases. 16 teaspoons.
Nutritionalists say weaning yourself off these drinks is a smart strategy to stay healthy.
So it's about limiting yourself, limiting the occasions that you have it, working towards just reducing the amounts overall.
So while these drinks may be sweet, staying healthy is probably sweeter.
Experts say there are several alternatives to drinking sodas and juices that are high in sugar. You can try seltzer water, coconut water, soy milk, and green tea, or just plain old water.
Thanks, Michaela.
From sugar to chocolate, Mars, the company behind M&M's, Snickers, and Twix, says it wants to stop people from eating too much sugar. Their idea? Labels on their candy. Their announcement follows moves by Nestle, Kraft, and Chipotle towards healthier options. Speaking of healthier options, they may now be more accessible to millennials. Whole Foods will be opening a chain that caters to the younger shoppers. The new stores offer a different shopping experience for those who are still interested in organic food, but at a more affordable price.
It might become the next big thing in the culinary world. Giant, green, and dragon-like. But as Tatiana Ilyenko tells us, eating the egg from an Australian bird is intimidating, but worth a try.
Thinking of eggs reminds me of Sam.
Remember that? It's from Dr. Seuss' story. But if you're looking for green eggs, search no further. Emu eggs are the closest thing you'll find. Emerald green on the outside, giant eggs from the second largest bird on the planet, they might become a new breakfast favorite for adventurous New Yorkers. David Santos, the chef at restaurant Louro, is ready to accommodate.
My favorite way to do it is soft scrambled, because I think that's the best way to enjoy the texture, and the flavor of it. Just very.
Santos, the only New York City chef who offers emu eggs on the menu. The price tag, a hefty $90. If you don't want to spend that much and are not scared to try it at home, Whole Foods sells these eggs for $35 a piece. Chef Santos shows how to scramble the emu eggs. First, crack the egg.
Get this out of the way. There you go. All right, you heard it?
Yeah. Then open it slowly and let it pour in the bowl.
There you go. Pour it out. Let it come out. There we go. Perfect. That's actually a great crack. There's no shell in there at all.
Next.
So we're going to give it a little stir.
A little bit of cream and salt and stir again. Olive oil, a hot pan, and the egg mix. Ready. Chef Santos turned this emu egg into this scrambled egg deliciousness. And according to him, it can feed more than 6 people. Let's give it a try. The chef says there are 3 ways to try it.
Why don't you just try it plain, as is?
With truffle oil and kimchi, an unexpected but winning combination. But how does the egg taste?
The dish was really good. The rib was very creamy. It was delicious. It was light, fluffy. It's actually much better than regular egg.
I'd say it's richer than a regular chicken egg. It tastes a little more decadent.
Are you craving emu eggs yet? Don't forget to invite at least 6 people for the feast. And hurry, the emu egg season is almost over. You have a couple of more weeks.
I do not like green eggs and ham.
So if you like the green eggs, shh, don't tell Sam's friend. Tatiana Ilyenko, Columbia News Tonight.
Coming up in our Morningside report, what neighborhood businesses are doing to stay afloat during Columbia's summer vacation, and the initiative to restore one of New York's most important transportation hubs. Morningside Heights is a prime area for businesses that attract Columbia University students. As Sade Felibita tells us in our Morningside report, local shops are doing what it takes to survive as students leave for the summer, and commercial rents go up fast.
Empty storefronts are a common sight in Morningside Heights. Take this block between 111th and 112th on Broadway, the Varelli Restaurant and Possibilities Variety Store, even the Bank Street Bookstore. And that situation could get worse as summer comes. Last year, 29,000 Columbia students left for the summer. Only 4,000 were enrolled for the summer session. The manager of International Liquors says that as the temperature goes up, liquor sales go down. They are expecting a 50% drop in sales.
Really, it affects it in a way because about 90% of my clientele is Columbia students, so it really does die down. But it's something that we're used to, something that happens every year.
Getting used to it means putting aside more money during the rest of the year and cutting the budget to survive. Just on the other side of campus on Amsterdam is Max Soha. Marco Cinto, a waiter, believes that while rising rents is the norm, the focus should be on getting customers to come back.
Columbia students make up about 65% of our business in here. Without them, we wouldn't survive. But then again, when they are here, we do feel them, their presence. We get to see new students all the time.
Rent inflation is an issue in Morningside. According to the Columbia Spectator, 64% of vacant storefronts have been empty for more than a year since 2010.
The Lucky stores have long-term leases. The store manager at Book Culture on Broadway says rent isn't an issue. For now.
It doesn't quite rise with the market the way that some buildings do. Like, for example, Bank Street, who just closed down a couple months ago. So, I mean, it's always a concern. It's, we want to profit. We want to be able to stay here for as long as possible.
It's tough to be a small business in the Heights during the summer. But come fall, students come back. And many of these stores can breathe a sigh of relief if the high rents don't get them first. Sade Falabita, Columbia News Tonight.
Further downtown, a lot of people feel that it's time to restore Penn Station. The question is how a new Penn Station would look. Greg Jackson tells us about one new plan that reaches deep into the station's history.
According to city officials, Penn Station has needed remodeling for several years. Almost everyone agrees. The present Penn Station is way overdue for an overhaul. But how should that be done? The architecture firm Atelier & Co. thinks it has the answer. It wants to go back to the future by recreating the old Penn Station, the one designed by the legendary firm McKim, Mead & White in 1910.
Cultural significance, it's something that accrues over time. And the reconstruction of Penn Station as it was offers a really interesting take on cultural significance.
The tearing down of the old station in 1963 helped spark the urban preservation movement. But would resurrecting the old station really work?
The priority should be focused on what are the transportation improvements that are possible through a rebuilt Penn Station that goes along with increasing the capacity of Hudson tunnels, likely by building a new tunnel, and also increasing the total capacity of getting riders in and out.
Construction would cost at least $2.5 billion and would require the relocation of Madison Square Garden. That has some New Yorkers turned off.
So I just believe that they need to just leave it alone, and let New York be.
But it isn't just the money and historical value that has New Yorkers concerned about the new proposal.
This whole area right now is the way it is. We still have transportation problems. I mean, it gets really, really jammed up. It's going to get worse if you have construction going on. Worse. I don't see it as a bad idea.
Transportation is bad enough as it is. As you can see, our traffic is backed up now.
This plan has plenty of competition, and nothing is likely to be decided soon. Since Madison Square Garden has a lease extending through 2023, no one has anything to worry about anytime soon. Greg Jackson, Columbia News Tonight.
Coming up, we'll tell you why vintage World War II planes filled up the skies of Washington, D.C. And in our New Yorker of the Week, how a local equestrian is helping special needs kids gain confidence and skills. What a sight in Washington, D.C. today. More than 24 World War II planes flew over the Capitol's beloved monuments. Today is the 70th anniversary of the Allied victory in Europe. Among those who attended the flyover were former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright and hundreds of World War II veterans.
There has always been a special bond between humans and horses. Charmaine Nero tells us how our New Yorker of the Week is helping children with special needs by sharing her passion for horseback riding.
When Lance arrived at the Jamaica Bay Riding Academy 6 years ago, he could not speak or sit up on a horse. But now he can do all of those things on his own. Lance is a part of a therapeutic program that helps disabled children through horseback riding.
No, I landed on my tushy.
For the past decade, Mary Byrnes has been volunteering for this program every Sunday.
When I was a kid, I rode, and I've ridden most of my life. So when they opened the program, I said, it's a perfect way to do something good and also do what I enjoy. So it was kind of a good mixture.
Being on these horses helps the young children with disabilities build hand and eye coordination, muscle strength, and the skills necessary to live their daily lives.
We take anybody who feels they need the program and can get the doctor to agree that the program will be good for them. We try to take them into the program. That means that kids with ADHD, ADD, autism, blind students, deaf students, anybody who we can help and the doctor says it's okay, we take.
And check this out, the horses are also active participants.
Are physically disabled or have a physical problem, the movement of the horse allows them to use muscles they don't normally use. A child who can't walk can't use those muscles because they're stationary. Once they're on a horse, you can see their body's going like this, so the core is kicked in. The horse moves back and forth, side to side and up and down, so the body's constantly adjusting.
The transformation in these children, well, Mary has been there to see it all.
Even if it's those little things, like those aha moments, you don't get them all the time. No place is going to give you a miracle every minute, but there's enough of them, and there's enough kids and students, we even have adults, who improve that make us feel good.
Lance loves to ride, even if it includes a fall or two.
A horse threw me off.
Mary says that's the best part, watching the kids fall and get right back up, and she's in it for the long haul.
They like it, we like it, we like the horses, it's a great atmosphere, so that's what keeps me coming back.
Charmaine Nero, Columbia News Tonight.
It's Mother's Day this Sunday, so we thought we'd share some fun facts about our own mothers. Believe it or not, Rebecca, my mom had 8 kids, 6 boys and 2 girls. She's a super mom. How many did your mom have?
I just have one younger sister. I think 2 is enough for my mom. So for both of us, I want to give a shout out to our moms. Thanks for everything you've done.
That's Columbia News Tonight for this week. I'm Samantha Miles.
And I'm Rebecca Lee. Good night.